welcome to the Red Half of Sheffield preview pod. Back again off an international break, ready for more heartbreak and another ass kicking probably on the horizon. I am joined today by Dominic Booth from the Name on the Trophy podcast, a Man United podcast, and he's coming on to preview our inevitable loss to Man United next weekend. Dominic, how are you on this Sunday time of recording?
Yeah, very good, thank you. It's a lovely day actually in the UK, so I'm good. I'm actually quite enjoying the break from league football with the international break, given everything that's been going on. I suppose both Manchester and Sheffield United are quite glad for the break.
Yeah, definitely. I almost don't want it to start. I'd take 2 weeks off at this point. I wouldn't particularly want to restart based on Murderers Row that we have Man United and Arsenal back to back. So that's probably not going to be anywhere near a win. So let's get into it. So your thoughts on Manchester United's season as a whole thus far into the second international break of the season?
Yeah, it's been a poor season. When you factor in the signings that the club made in the summer and the investment and sort of continued backing of Eric Ten Hag as manager, I'm going to say United a lot. I know that Sheffield United also call themselves United, but Manchester United. United fans had a lot of expectations, and the third place finish last year, winning the Carabao Cup, there was sort of a sense that this could be the season that United could build and maybe push for the title, or at least like give City and Arsenal a bit of a scare. But yeah, four defeats in the league and 4 wins, and then 2 defeats in the Champions League out of 2. That represents a pretty atrocious start to the season, really. And in no game have the team really looked like dominating. This one against Sheffield United might buck the trend, maybe. I think that's the hope from the the Manchester United perspective, but there's no guarantee because there's been no evidence of United controlling games and looking like like a well-oiled team. It just hasn't happened so far this season.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes. As of day of recording, we're recording this Sunday before the match. The bid for United was pulled out yesterday. Looks like the Glazers are still going to be in control. Are you on that wagon, off that wagon? Where do you stand with the Glazers and the whole Man United being for sale? Because I want to get an inside perspective from a United supporter that, what your thoughts are. Because it seemed like a couple of years ago, you guys were going to burn the pitch to the ground. I remember the protests and everything going on a couple of years ago, and it's just like, wow, it's crazy. So your thoughts on the ongoing takeover situation?
It's been such a frustrating process for nearly all fans. I mean, there is barely a single fan that really wants the Glazers to stay. I mean, everyone really wants them to go, and it's undoubtedly the best thing for the club for them to go. The debt that's being riddled of the club at the moment, that the stadium is in a state of disrepair and desperately needs attention. The squad is good in areas, but could still do with improvement, and just the general lack of care that the Glazers have shown to the club is something that really irks the fan base. And I do see this news. So we talk about the news that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has struck a deal for 25% of the club, which is viewed as the first step in a gradual takeover, which may or may not come to fruition. We don't know at this stage, but so 25% is obviously a disappointing aspect when 100% of the club was supposedly up for sale, right? And the Qatari consortium wanted to buy 100% and are seemingly now out of the race. So personally, I wanted Sir Jim Ratcliffe as the new owner. I thought that his sort of ties with Manchester, because he's from Manchester, would have been a positive thing for the club, and he's had a good record at owning other sports projects. So maybe it isn't such a bad deal, the 25%, but in the short term, it's quite frustrating that there's very little progress in terms of a takeover, in terms of changing the club. But tying into what I said at the start, that doesn't really impact what's been going on in the field. It doesn't excuse United's poor performances on the field this season. The two are obviously linked, but at the same time, they are separate issues and sort of need to be dealt with separately.
Yeah, that's seems like a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, so you touch on the gradual, going from 25%. Is this like a 5-year plan where in 5 years you could possibly have 100% of ownership of United, or is this a longer project, or is this something as small as like 3 years you could own the entire thing?
Well, no one really knows. That's the sort of issue, is that it hasn't been made clear what the plan is. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants full sporting control so that he makes the decisions over the club, which is definitely a good thing, that is going to be taken away from the Glazers. So the hope is that it isn't, if it's a 5-year thing, that will just bring so much frustration, and I can see protests again if that rumbles on and there's no action. There needs to be something to at least signal to the fan base that change is coming and that the club is at least moving in the right direction, because it just can't be allowed to go on. The takeover itself has gone on for nearly a year since the club was officially put up for sale. So you can sort of understand why frustrations are building and people aren't fully on board with this yet.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. I don't, based on what you just said in the last few minutes of recapping it, I don't know if I'd be on board either. And, Sheffield United are going through their own, whatever the hell you want to call it. We're up for sale. We're not for sale. We're not worth anything. Who knows? But yeah, it sounds like you guys got a whole situation going on that is way deeper than just the club's up for sale.
Yeah.
All right, back to Saturday's game. Who are the ones to watch? Give us a few players that are the ones to watch for Manchester United. We all know the big names. It's going to be a steamroll. God, this game is going to suck.
Well, you say that, and you said that before we came on air, that it's going to be a steamroller. It's going to be a beating. I know that there's the 8-0 defeat that Sheffield United suffered, which is probably fresh, very, very fresh and raw in the minds of fans. And there's maybe fears that will happen again. But honestly, the way that Manchester United have been playing this season, I don't see it being a big margin. I do see them winning the game, but I think that the big names that I might have mentioned in this section, such as Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, have not fired yet this season. So, that is an issue. Rashford has sort of looked dangerous at times, and he gets in a lot of good goal-scoring positions, but he doesn't, at the moment, take the chances, and he's sort of misfiring with his shooting range. Fernandes is, again, sometimes doing the right things, but not really clicking in the final third with his passing. So I think the one player that I probably would mention would be Rasmus Højlund, who is looking in really, really good form up front and looks like a promising signing for the future in a position that has been long needed at Old Trafford. A real true number 9 who gets in the box, who can play with his back to goal or running at the defence as well. Scored a couple of great goals against Galatasaray in the Champions League recently. Hasn't actually scored in the Premier League. I think he's had 2 efforts ruled out by VAR in the Premier League so far, but he's not actually scored one. So he'll be looking to break his duck, and yeah, he's probably the one shining light with United fans at the moment on the pitch, given his performances.
Oh man, just look. I'll just wait until Saturday night, and that lineup will come out, and I'm like, boy, oh boy. All right. So anyway, give the viewers your thoughts on how Saturday's game. It's weird that we're the late kickoff, 8 p.m. kickoff. Give me your thoughts on the match and give me a score prediction, and if you want to, you can throw your goal scorers in there.
You're right. Okay. Well, I'm actually going to this game, covering it for the Guardian. So I'm interested to see how Manchester United react to the atmosphere at Bramall Lane, which is the one big thing I think going in your guys' favour, right? The the fans. I know they're getting a little bit restless, obviously, with the form, but at home against a team like Manchester United, they'll be really up for it, and they'll create that cauldron atmosphere. So I can see that rocking Manchester United, because of their record under Erik ten Hag away from home in hostile environments is really poor. So I could actually see Sheffield United taking the lead. Maybe that sounds completely mad to you.
My hopes up.
I know goals are a complete struggle for you guys and all of that stuff that you've been saying, but I do see maybe it being a tough opening for Manchester United and maybe going to go down. I think maybe a 2 or 3-1 win in the end, I would probably say. I think Rashford will hit the goal. I think he's due a goal. So I'll say Rashford maybe to score 2 and Højlund to score 1, let's say, in a 3-1 win. But I'll put my cards on the table.
Okay. I mean, I think I do see us scoring a goal, which is weird for me to say because goals have just dried up for us, and our midfield is absolutely awful. But yeah, I think I'll agree with you. A 3-1 Manchester United win. I think we show a little bit of fight because, as you said, it's under the floodlights at Bramall Lane. The atmosphere will be buzzing. I'm sure everybody will be liquored up, and they'll have time to settle in at Bramall Lane. And I think it'll be a cagey affair for maybe the first 20 minutes, and then it'll all slant towards Manchester United's favor. I think maybe you might be right with an early Sheffield United goal, and then it after that 20-minute like back and forth, then it's all United all the time the rest of the game, and Manchester United win 3-1. One question before we get out of here. We always end this part of the podcast with a hard-hitting question. When you're not working covering Manchester United, what's your pre-match beverage? Doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be soda. It could be water.
What's my pre-match beverage? Probably a good coffee, an Americano. I'm one of these modern coffee snobs. It has to be good coffee beans and grind them yourself and all that. So a good quality coffee, not instant. The good stuff.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right, Dominic, tell the viewers and listeners where they can follow you, all your social medias, where they can find the podcast. Just throw it all out there.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at DomBooth19, and my podcast is called Name on the Trophy, where we talk about Manchester United, and that is at On the Trophy on Twitter. Oh, you're supposed to call it X these days, aren't you? Sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Thanks, Elon. Yeah, so Manchester United podcast, Name on the Trophy on all the usual podcast places as well. So thanks very much, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah. We'll have you back for the reverse fixture later in the season. As always, guys, you can follow us Red Half of Sheffield on X, Twitter, whatever it's called nowadays. Red Half of Sheffield on this YouTube channel. If you're watching this video, I don't know why you're not subscribed to it. Me, CJarvis_13 on X/Twitter. And until the next preview, where I preview probably another loss, I will leave you with Up the Blades.